How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video I'll be taking you through my very own wildcard draft for the upcoming Game Week 7. So there's two ways you guys can use this video. The first way is obviously plug and play this wildcard draft if you guys are on the chip, but if you're not on the chip like myself, don't exactly know if I will be wildcarding for Game Week 7, you can just use this video as your almost transfer targets. So take a look at the draft, see which players I've selected. These options, if you don't own them, you can get them in on those free transfers. But obviously you guys will have to prioritize which players are better. Now as with every draft, I always say this, the fixtures are the bread and butter of any draft, so I'll be going over those first before I talk about the actual team from a financial point of view. Then I'll be showing you guys the starting 11 that I would probably go for on a wildcard if I was to use the chip. So if that is something that you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So the first talking point I just want to go over is the fact that we do have a double Game Week 7. Yes, I know, kind of under the radar, but if you guys know which teams are playing, you probably can understand it. So yes, unfortunately, double Game Week 7 is only for two teams, and that's going to be Luton and Burnley. This comes from that Game Week 2 postponement due to Luton's home stadium. So now you guys can understand why the hype might not be there for this upcoming double Game Week, but both sides don't have the worst fixtures in the world. That's mainly because they are playing each other, so Luton and Burnley obviously the second game. Luton have the better first game though, and they take on Everton away. That is versus Burnley's Newcastle away game, which you guys have just seen. They absolutely thrash Sheffield United at their home. So I think we could have a repetition of that in Game Week 7 for Burnley. Now how many options would I actually go for in this double Game Week 7? The answer is not going to be that many. I think if you guys do want to go from Morris, we'll talk about him a little bit later on, you guys can go there. But other than that, both sides don't have great defenses. And there's only kind of one attacker I would go for from each team. But I just want to remind you guys about this upcoming double Game Week 7. Not the biggest double in the world, might not be the best double in the world, but you guys could still take advantage of it with one or two options. Now as promised, I always say this, the fixtures are the bread and butter of any wildcard draft, so I'm going to be going over 6 teams that I think you guys should focus on in terms of a wildcard. Now these teams might be teams to target, they might be teams to avoid, or teams that you might just want to take note of, because they have some upcoming fixture swings. So the 6 teams that I want to showcase are going to be Aston Villa, Spurs, Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester United, and finally Brighton. And you guys are about to see a whole bunch of fixtures on your screen. But don't worry, don't stress too much. I'll be going over these kind of team by team, showing you which teams to target and which teams to avoid potentially. And as mentioned, maybe a team to take note of. So the first team is going to be one of those teams to target, definitely the Aston Villa fixtures. From Game Week 8 onwards, a sea of green, as you guys can see. And even Brighton in Game Week 7 isn't the worst in the world. So if you guys do want to go for kind of a triple up or a double up, that's 100% what I would recommend, as they are playing a pretty good brand of football at the moment. So I think you guys can target the attack and the defense. The attack slightly better than the defense though, haven't racked up that many clean sheets, and their XG is looking a lot better than their XG conceded. The next team, Spurs, kind of has a similar situation. The Game Week 7 fixture isn't the worst, but also not the best, but from Game Week 8 onwards, great fixtures on the cards. Now I would also prioritize their attack to their defense, also conceding quite a lot of XG and haven't kept that many clean sheets, and you guys know the attack like you saw on the weekend, Maddison and Son are just so clinical. And currently I've gone for kind of the best of both worlds with the Dogie in the defensive department. He has that attacking threat, and if they do keep a clean sheet he should be playing, and that's probably as far as I would go with that Spurs defense. But if you're a team to target, as from Game Week 8 onwards, might even be Campsy options, as the fixtures are just simply so good. Then next up we have a popular team, everyone kind of owned them in Game Week 6 for that massive haul against Sheffield United. Will they repeat that this week against Burnley at home? I think on a wildcard or on kind of free transfers, Newcastle defenders have to be prioritized. A double up or a triple up is even accessible, as that Newcastle defense has just been so solid. Unfortunately, in Game Week 11, they do face Arsenal at home, but you guys should have some bench coverage to account for that fixture. Now in terms of the attacking department, it does get a little bit tough. Unfortunately, had the news of Harvey Barnes' injury today, going to be out for months rather than weeks, and that makes someone like a budget option like a Gordon super attractive. Now just heed caution, he does have 4 yellow cards at the moment. If he picks up one more, he will be suspended for 1 game. So just keep that in mind if you guys are going to go for him. Other than that though, Isaac versus Callum Wilson is a very tough debate, kind of a 50-50 on a game week basis, as you never know who Eddie Howe's going to actually play. So that's why at the current moment, a double up or a triple up is where I would go from a defensive point of view, and then maybe leave the attackers to someone else. The next team is we want to target, maybe for different reasons. It's because Liverpool assets, from a defensive point of view, probably wouldn't go there. Yes, Trent is back in training today, but he still is too expensive for my liking, and defensively Liverpool aren't that secure. But you guys know from an attacking point of view, they're scoring a bunch of goals, the highest XG per 90 minutes of any team, And the one attack I definitely go for is Mo Salah. The reason I'm saying that, as you guys know, super consistent, has the highest amount of expected minutes, whereas Jota, Diaz, and a Darwin, even a Gakpo, they're going to rotate quite frequently. So I think at the moment, Mo Salah, enough Liverpool coverage, but if they do improve from a defensive point of view, the fixtures look pretty decent from Game Week 9 onwards. Now the last two teams might be slightly surprising, and yes, I fully understand that. The reason I want to go over these two teams is just so that I showcase them and remind you guys about these teams, so that you have them in the back of your mind on a wildcard. The first team is Manchester United, and the reason I want to showcase them is the fixtures aren't that bad, and if you guys are wildcarding, you're probably losing both Bruno and Rashford. Now if you're keeping one of them, that's perfectly understandable. Great fixtures coming up, kind of a good fixture, bad fixture, good fixture. But I just want to remind you guys about them because I think a lot of people are going without them on a wildcard. Even if you guys want to go for maybe a defensive option, the defense hasn't been that bad this season. But I think one of Bruno or Rashford is enough on a wildcard. The last team to go for, I probably would avoid them for the next 3 games. Yes, Brighton are kind of a fixture-proof side. We saw that on the weekend with Matoma. But I just believe I would rather take a punt for the next 3 game weeks and then get them in from game week 10 onwards. The reason I want to showcase Brighton is that you guys have to have a plan for a Matoma and a Stupinan. Yes, you guys could get them now, bench them for the next few game weeks. But as I mentioned, probably take a punt for now and then bring them in from game week 10 onwards. But just please keep that in the back of your mind. Brighton are a super good side. So just make sure that you guys have a plan to bring them in. So obviously there are going to be other teams that I haven't covered yet that you guys want to bring on a wildcard. Comment them down below what teams have I missed out on. Or any of these 6 teams and avoid for you. How many Manchester United assets you guys have on those wildcard drafts. But otherwise I think the rest of the teams should pretty much make up those drafts. So just a reminder here, like those Brighton assets on a wildcard, please just prepare for kind of future fixture swings as you guys won't be able to use a second wildcard till the new year. But now let's go on to that actual wildcard draft, the moment you guys have all been waiting for. I definitely use this draft as a template. If you guys do like it, then make 1 or 2 changes to add your own flavor to it. Now you guys should be able to afford this as I do have 2.6 million left in the bank. That's quite a large value, but I will understand why I've kept so much value because I am planning future moves in this wildcard draft. So yes, if you guys do want to use that money in the bank, that's 100% fine. If you want to upgrade your defense, your midfield, or your forwards rather than keeping the value, then you guys can 100% do that. So let's go over the actual team. I'll be going over kind of position by position the starting 11 before the bench options, as the starting players are far more important. So defensively, we've gone super cheap here. As mentioned, we're going to save some value. I've gone for Areola and Matt Turner, both around 4.0 million. And at the moment, both these 2 players are going to start. Areola is slightly more secure. I think that he should be the West Ham goalkeeper for the medium term, as he has looked in pretty good form and West Ham are playing great at the moment. Matt Turner, unfortunately, Forest signed a new keeper during the transfer window. It's kind of a ticking window until he is replaced, but at the current moment, he's actually performing pretty decently. So yes, you guys can get away with kind of having an 8.0 million spread amongst the goalkeepers, but you probably will play Areola most game weeks as West Ham have great fixtures coming up. Then defensively, we're also going to start off quite cheap. Haven't gone for the kind of duo from Newcastle that you guys would want. I've gone for Dan Burn and Botman, both the 2 cheaper Newcastle defenders, so no Trippier or Fabian Schär here. Unfortunately, I couldn't really afford the midfielders and the attackers that I wanted if I did go for Trippier. That's why I've gone for the cheaper Burn. Yes, he might not be as great as Trippier, but he is quite a bit cheaper. But I think personally, a double up on the Newcastle defense is almost essential on a wildcard. Owning 1 isn't even enough. The effective ownership of the Newcastle defense is pretty high at the moment, so double up or triple up is where it's at in my opinion. So accompanying this kind of double up in the Newcastle defense, I'm going to be going over 2 other options. No, this won't be kind of a back 4, it will be a back 3, but you guys can rotate these 4 as you guys please. So the first option I want to talk about is me from the first team we mentioned, Aston Villa. It's Matty Cash at 4.7 million. Great price to get him at, defensive option and attacking option. So he's kind of the best of both worlds. Now I've already spoken about how good those Aston Villa fixtures are, great fixtures on the cards, and as mentioned, they're playing a great brand of football at the moment. So kind of talking about those kind of dual threat of fullbacks, defensive and attacking threat, the next one is going to be exactly that. It's a doggy from Spurs, also at 4.7 million. Now yes, Spurs might not be kind of the best defense in the Prem at the moment, but with great fixtures coming up, they can become that, as I expect them to keep a couple of clean sheets in the future game weeks. Now as mentioned, you guys will rotate these back 4 as you guys please. Whether they have a good fixture or bad one, you might prioritize the attacking options, as they have a higher ceiling at the end of the day. Now there are a few options I haven't included here, and a Stupinan for example from Brighton. I couldn't afford him at his more expensive price tag, but if you guys want to spend some value in the bank, he would be an upgrade that I would go for. Now moving on to the midfield department, I'm going to start off with the most expensive player in our midfield. It's me, none other than Mo Salah. Already mentioned his Liverpool fixtures look pretty decent, and I honestly think that he's actually proving good value even if you don't captain him. So at the moment I've switched around. In game week 1 I was a no Salah, but now I'm a Mo Salah, and I think on a wildcard you guys might as well just go for him. But there is kind of a heavy argument about splitting the funds. If you guys don't want to go for Mo Salah, downgrade him to a cheaper option. If you guys want a Bruno or Rashford, this is the easiest way. Then you guys can afford a Trippier even in defense. But I think personally the defense is adequate at its price point. You guys can afford Mo Salah still and have a lot of value left in the bank. Now the next two options are going to be also kind of mainstays in a wildcard. Yes, they play Liverpool in Game Week 7, but I think that's a good fixture anyways, especially from an attacking point of view. So those two options, you guys probably guessed that it's Heung-min Son and Maddison, both options that are great Game Week 6 against Arsenal, and I expect that to continue in the future game weeks. Now as long as Son does play striker instead of Richarlison for Spurs, I think he's an essential option, and with those fixtures coming up that you guys have just seen, he's almost an essential pick on a wildcard and with free transfers. Maddison also a very decent pick, might even be better than a Heung-min Son, but just watch out for that knee injury that he potentially picked up, and he was going for a scan I think yesterday. But he did mention that he should be fine for the upcoming game week, so I would probably trust him. But we will get more news in the press conference coming up on Thursday or Friday. But as two essential picks, I don't mind the double up. I think Spurs are attacking pretty decently. The fixtures look outstanding. What's more not to love? Now my next two options, you guys will notice I've gone quite heavy in the midfield department. So the next two are going to be slightly cheaper. I've gone for Mbeumo and also Dayvy. So both these two options come in around the same price points. Now you guys might be asking me, why am I going for Mbeumo and Dayvy? Well, Dayvy has the fixtures, Mbeumo has the next three. And if you guys recalled earlier on, this is a placeholder for Matoma. So once Game Week 10 comes around, Brighton have that fixture swing. I do believe Mbeumo has some of the best next three out of any teams, and that's why I've gone for him in the slot. So yes, I am kind of penciling in a move which you guys might not like, but I think it's worth it on a wild card, as Brighton have great fixtures from then onwards. But if you guys do prefer another option, maybe like a Ward-Prowse from West Ham for the next three fixtures, that's 100% fine, but I personally prefer Mbeumo as they have 2 out of 3 that are great. Then as mentioned, Dayvy is kind of a no-brainer, almost the best Aston Villa attacker at the moment, and with great fixtures coming up, that's the perfect combination. Now finally going to our forward department, the first option is a no-brainer, it's Erling Haaland. There's been some talk over on Twitter today about potentially going without Haaland, but I definitely would probably keep the Norwegian. Just the perma-captain option at the moment, we saw with West Ham when we thought that was going to be a tougher game. Yes, he only kind of got 1 goal, but he missed so many big chances, and if he did take those chances, no one would be considering going without him. So yes, he is 14.0 million, but I would probably captain him every single game week, except for maybe game week 8 when he faces Arsenal. But you guys in the comments down below, let me know what you guys are going for. I would think that you would rather go for the Salah downgrade than the Haaland downgrade, but maybe you guys have something else on your mind. But Haaland's ownership is so high that he's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion, so let's go over our next forward. So the next forward is going to be none other than Morris at 5.5 million. Yes, I'm going for the double game week fever here. I just believe on a game week 7 wildcard, you guys might as well go for him. Would I captain him? Probably not. I still would probably go for Erling Haaland, but I think he's a great option on a wildcard. So now's where kind of this 2.6 million comes into account. I would probably upgrade Morris to a Watkins next game week when Villa have better fixtures, or you guys can upgrade him to a forward of your choice. So yes, we are penciling another move, but I just believe it's worth kind of taking advantage of the double game week and then jumping on whoever has good form in game week 8. But if you guys don't like that, you can obviously just go for whatever you like. If you want to go for Alvarez, you can do that. Watkins, you have enough money in the bank, and that's why I left that 2.6 million there. But I can understand if you guys don't want to go without him. Let me know in the comments down below who you guys would change him to. So you guys can see the kind of starting 11, almost starting 12 with our back 4. Now let's go over the cheap bench fodder. So the first option, Kabore, is a no-brainer at 4.0 million. He's probably going to start both games in double game week 7. Yes, you guys could play him. I probably won't. I'll probably play my other defenders. But that's an option that you guys can also take. I just think at 4.0, kind of the standout, there is a Bayer from Burnley, but I do prefer Kabore for his attacking threat. And as I said, he should be pretty nailed. Then in terms of 4.5 forward, it's a no-brainer Archer, the only kind of 4.5 that's playing almost a full game. So you guys might as well just put him in. So those two players do complete our starting 15 with yes 2.6 in the bank, but that's going to be used to upgrade Morris. You guys can spread the funds around if you do please. And what changes would you guys make to this draft? Otherwise, if you guys are on a wildcard, let me know what your current draft is looking like. It might tempt myself to actually consider using the chip, but at the current moment, I'm planning to use a transfer or maybe take a hit. If you guys have any dilemmas in terms of FPL, comment them down below and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Tons of content coming up. The ultimate guide tomorrow, the team selection on Thursday. Otherwise, enjoy that midweek football. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.